Did we ever? I never heard. We're live now.
We are.
Yeah,
hey,
we're
everyone.
live now.
Hey, you can see what goes on behind it. You're going to see how the sausage gets made
It's
now. It's
mostly
probably
just-
not pretty, but
It's mostly just me asking Bill questions about how things came to be. So I was going to ask you, do you know the origin of the Jaws theme song at WSU? When did that start?
I remember it having started going to Coug games in like the 70s. I remember it during the Palouse Posse days.
Okay.
Because we had but I could be wrong. And if anyone actually has the correct answer, they can put the answer down in the comment sections there. That would be
you know
very
what?
helpful.
If somebody answers this question correctly,
who's going to determine whether it's correct though? So you and I don't. I mean, I think it was Palouse Posse days, but it could have been before that.
All right. Anybody in the chat, if you can tell us the origin, we're going to look it up afterwards. If you're the first one, then I'll send you some Old Crimson Legendary coffee.
That would be dope.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, listen, everyone. It is Tuesday, January 13th. This is the third edition now. Or is this the fourth edition? Third edition of Collectively Crimson. We're gonna get it right at some point. Our over under is around episode 20.
No, we got it right so far. We're
gonna get it right tonight because we got 2 killer guests.
We do
3 technically.
Okay,
3
so
killer guests.
Actually, do your read first, and then let's talk about.
Well, yeah. Before we get in too far into it, let me remind everybody about Pullman Vintage Market. All right, where you can find absolutely some of the coolest stuff, and the inventory is constantly changing. But here's the thing: the good folks over at Pullman Vintage Market have guaranteed parts of the proceeds will go directly to the Cougar Collective. So you are directly helping out the student athlete through the collective by making yourself look pretty dope with your 1990s starter jacket or whatever you find over there.
I'm just going to say, I need to make a visit because right before showtime, you looked at me and what'd you say to me?
You're not actually wearing any Cougar shit. What's up with
that? I'm actually wearing like a yellow, it almost looks like duck colors.
Yeah, you look like you were about to do an LL Bean ad today is really what you right?
I'll be perfectly honest. I forgot we were doing a show. And so Bill, thank God he came in layered with Coug stuff on.
I'm serious about this.
And so he forced this very nice. I'm hoping you forget it on your way out of here.
No, I'm taking it with me.
So I'm feeling and
looks better thoh, man. Because you were literally like if we're doing a podcast on, I don't know, axe throwing or something like that, you had the right outfit for that. You would have been dialed in. Unfortunately, we're called Collectively Crimson here, and we're talking about WSU, all things Cougar related.
Yeah, well, fair. I told myself the story that I was going to be able to drive home and get some Coug gear, and I never did.
Let's do this. Let's tell everyone who we got on tonight, and then you're going to roll. We got to pay some bills after that.
Let's pay some bills.
So check it out. We got 3 guests, 2 guest spots tonight. We got Dylan and Conor from Couch GM. Fantastic podcast. If you guys are not checking out their podcast, we're going to link it all up in the description box below. They've been covering Cougar athletics, Mariner baseball, Padre baseball, but we're going to focus on Cougar athletics, obviously. And they've been real good to us.
They have been excellent.
They've
friends
been real
to the
good
collective.
to us.
Yes.
Right. So we are thrilled to have them on. We're going to do a roster rundown with them. And then after that, we are going to talk to like the Pele of female soccer at Washington State University.
Big time. And this
time.
is somebody who has really classed up the Cougar Collective board too.
Thank God, because we needed it.
We absolutely still need a little bit more
we got
class.
Wade in there, so we're going to need a lot more class. But Morgan Weaver, the most decorated soccer player in Washington State University history, and a new member of the board of the Cougar Collective, which, like Brian said, she has significantly classed up the operation.
We have to remind some of the other board members that we've got to pretend like we're bigger gentlemen than we are.
We should act like gentlemen. These are business meetings. But I also here's the cool thing what Morgan's going to talk about, because a lot of people think this is only football. Is football a primary focus of what we do at the Cougar Collective?
Absolutely.
Yes, we're very open about that. But does that mean that your contributions to the Cougar Collective only goes to football? Absolutely not. If you have a sport, a passion project at Washington State University Athletics that you're passionate about, you want to give to those student athletes, Morgan's going to kind of talk about how we get to do that as well, because we're a full service operation here.
Awesome. Well, it looks like Conor is there, so we're going to go pay some bills real quick.
Pay some bills, and then we'll get them on.
We'll catch up with Conor here.
Did you do that? No. Yeah, I definitely heard that.
When Paddock wanted to help raise money for the Cougar Collective, we thought, why not give them a Cougar Collector?
Hold on. Let me try something. Yeah! Woo!
Handmade by Paddock right here in Pullman. Old Crimson Legendary Cocktail isn't just a drink. It's a canned vodka cocktail that magically turns every weekend into, well, Mom's Weekend.
That was one of my favorite commercials to shoot.
Who scripted that one?
That was actually my wife scripted it. We were driving to Pullman, and she goes, "Well, if you want cougars, then let's get a Cougar Collector." And so she came up with the whole concept. I was really proud of her.
Hey, it's entertaining.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's what we're here
I'll
for.
say
that's
too,
what we're here for, is to entertain.
Peyton Pleur was an absolute blast to work with too.
Peyton Pleur
what a great
is
guy.
a good kid. And, I was thinking about this on the way over to your studios that, one of the tragic things with the transfer portal now is that, is Luke Falk and the Peyton Pleurs, are they kind of the last of a generation of football players where we literally saw them walk onto campus as right out of high school, and they get onto the field for the first time and we're like, hey, who's this Luke Falk kid? Right. And by the time they graduate, we've seen them grow up. We've grown up with them. Right. It's this amazing connection and experience that you have with student athletes when you watch them grow, they succeed, they fail, they succeed, they fail, and you kind of ride that roller coaster with them. And then that connection you have to them when they come back to the university, like we see. And do you get that if you're just playing, every 1 or 2 years at a different school?
No, not if you're hopping around like that. It's fandom is just different now.
And that's what I think people need to understand about NIL is that it's not just about obtaining athletes. It's about retaining your athletes and keeping them there so they can actually have that experience.
Big time. I think that's what's been fun about watching the transfer portal this go around is just people we expected to lose.
Yeah, the retention was fantastic, and then the additions have been. I mean, that's like when we get the couch GMs on here, I'm jacked right now. I'm serious. I don't know if you spend as much time out there in the exosphere as I do.
Too much.
Oh,
too much.
Yeah, the exosphere. There's only one place deeper and darker than X, and that's Reddit. And I encourage no one to go out to Reddit. But just trying to keep up with the flurry of activity of all the signing, because you'll see things like, oh no, I heard. Wait, that's brand new. Wait a second, and it's just the amount of talent, good talent that they have accumulated. Amazing.
It's wild. And I'm really excited to actually hear from Conor on this. Do you mind if I go to Conor?
I want to just drop him in, then we'll drop Dylan.
Yeah, when Dylan comes, we'll Conor bring him in.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Just
and Dylan when he gets here.
Hold on just a second, Conor.
You didn't totally cut him off, did you?
No. Conor, can you hear me okay, bud?
Yeah, can you hear us? Or can you hear me?
Oh, so give me 2 seconds. The audience can hear Conor. We can't hear Conor.
Test 1, 2.
Oh, okay. I got what you got to do. Conor, while you're here, hang on as Brian gets this. This is a Mickey Mouse operation. We're not as smooth as
Mickey
the
Mouse.
Couch GM. What's that?
It's a learning project.
It is. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Dylan's going to be with us in a few minutes. How are you?
Yeah, doing great. Sounds like he's about 5-10 minutes away, so excited to get him on too.
That's
but
okay.
Yeah.
If you haven't noticed, Brian and I are really good at stalling and filibustering for a long time so we can do this. But before he gets here, why don't you just tell everybody about Couch GM, how they can follow it, the platforms you're on, and tell us a little bit about how you guys got started.
Yeah, so we're a cross-platform. Long form is on YouTube, of course, and then Instagram, TikTok, X. So I started the Couch GM 4 years ago, this last December, mainly talking about the Mariners. And really, I was wanting to highlight the teams that I myself am the most interested in. So for like 2 years, it was just Mariner talk, highlighting the players, that type of thing. And then when the downfall of the Pac-12 started to happen, Dylan and I went to college together. We met senior year, started the club baseball team up at Washington State, actually. And he was like, hey, we got to start talking Washington State, because as you know, like national media talking Washington State is not what you want to be hearing, especially Pat McAfee, all that stuff. So we just decided to start covering it ourselves with talking about what's going on as it's happening. And that led to us now, working into interviewing players, interviewing coaches. We had the GM on today, which is going to go live on Thursday. So that's a great conversation. So
Pretty good dude, right?
Brad Larondo.
Yeah. And he really
were you just
expands
completely
on his
jacked
answers,
after
which is
that
awesome.
interview?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, talking through, the success that they've had in the portal so far. And it's just really exciting time right now, because obviously last year it was Jimmy bringing his entire roster basically. And now it's, the level of talent that this, coaching staff is able to retain and then also get in the portal just seems, a step higher even.
Well, that's what we got you on here to talk about, is to kind of do a roster shakedown, because we do want people to understand that when we're talking about the excitement, when Brian and I and you are all talking about how excited we are, this is not just, hyperbole to try to get people hyped about something, because I've been a WSU fan probably longer than both you guys combined, unfortunately, with my age. But I have never seen an influx. I have never seen an influx of talent, especially in the portal era. So why don't you explain to me, you've been covering this roster for a couple of years. What is the biggest difference this year in general from what you've seen in the past couple of years? Especially because we've had coaching changes the past couple of years also.
No, exactly. I mean, talking last year, it was a bunch of FCS transfers, coming from South Dakota State over here, hoping that it's going to translate to the higher level, which obviously it did, especially on the defensive side. The offense was looking good at times, like retaining Kirby Voorhees, who was an SDSU guy, was huge, Maxwell Woods. But this year, like I said, it's like the guys that they're able to bring in through the portal are the P4 guys, edges from Vanderbilt, from Marshall, from all these other spots, a lot of exciting names. And it's one of those things to where it's a lot of interesting talent, but a lot of the talent also, wasn't necessarily a starter at where they're coming from. Some were. So we'll have to wait and see how they translate to this roster. But yeah, once Dylan gets on, we're going to break up the roster and talk through some of the interesting names to look for.
Well, and you say that there's also, maybe they didn't necessarily start, and once they get on, we're going to see how they fit in. But there's more to it than just the talent itself, because there's player development, and we have seen that there are certainly, and with all, the last coaching staff, even though we got some beefs with some of the things that happened with the last coaching staff, their ability to develop players
and know their players
players was pretty darn good. And so, that's an element that goes into this today. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So sorry, can you repeat the question? Dylan was texting me.
Well, it was really about player development as well, because some players, right, like there used to be this UW basketball coach out there. His name was Lorenzo Romar. Lorenzo Romar could recruit the best players on the planet and guarantee about a 5th place finish in the Pac-12 every year. He could not develop talent. Talk to us a little bit about the infrastructure that you've seen in player development over the last couple of years and how important that's played when we're taking a bit of a flyer on some of these players.
Yeah, I mean, talking to the GM today, just describing, we're talking about overall retention. Obviously, it's the development, coaching staff changes year over year. So we're going to have to see what this coaching staff brings. It sounds like they have some really interesting stuff with Kirby Moore and the staff that they're bringing in. So as far as overall development, we're going to have to see with this new coaching staff. But with what Brad had to say, obviously there was a lot of development that happened this past year with the Washington State roster, and just hoping it can progress. I know that wasn't the best answer, but
no, that's fine. Are you getting a feel for what kind of offense they intend on running, what kind of defense they intend on running? Have you gotten any kind of have you at least tried to connect the dots and taken a look at what these coaches have done at their previous stops?
Yeah. So talking to Brad today, and then also from Kirby, what he said, they're going to pass to score and run to win is what they said. Talking through the quarterbacks, all of these guys on the roster are of the dual threat nature, similar to the last staff of they prefer guys that can run and throw. That's definitely going to be a part of it. And what Brad said today is that you want the opposing defensive coordinator to have to always know what's going on with the quarterback, where he's at on the field. And then like a lot of coaching staff say, they have to establish the run. So with these guys that we're going to have in Kirby Voorhees, Maxwell Woods, Leo Pulalasi coming back, Lance McGee, who is a flip from OSU, potentially could have an impact. They're going to have a solid running game. And then you look at some of these guys in the wide receiver room. Dylan's going to cover the wide receiver room. Some very interesting talent. And a lot of the guys that they're adding right now are just overall athletes, which are really exciting.
And then we did pretty well with retention on the O-line.
Yeah, so basically brought back any potential starter on the offensive line. You know, there was a few graduates, and Dylan's going to cover the offensive line, but he'll also mention a big signing today, a transfer out of the University of Utah. That guy's like 6'7", and then also you probably have already heard of Nathaniel
kid.
Oh,
and then you've also heard of
Jack Thompson is pumped about that sign. Anytime you get a Polynesian kid, Jack Thompson is like doing cartwheels. But here's the thing, man. You take a look at some of the when WSU had the absolute when they had it rolling. A couple of the places that they were getting players from. One was Samoa, Polynesian kids. The other thing was Pierce County, Washington, Tacoma kids. You go back and you take a look at that Palouse posse. You take a look at what Mike Price got. Take a look at what Bill Doba got. They recruited the crap out of Tacoma, Puyallup area. That was their area. They plucked a lot of good football players out of there. And I've never understood why we don't continue to recruit out of there. Those Tacoma kids are not meant to be. They're not all signed into being Huskies like some of those King County kids are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys this. What are some names that you see that are really intriguing to you that you've seen in the portal?
Well, I want you to tell who's breaking down the quarterbacks. Is that you or is that Dylan also?
Yeah, that'll be me.
So let's
start with quarterbacks.
Okay. First of all, before we talk about the kid we brought in, let's talk about what was left over and what we have there. Because we had some kids that were left over. I know Jackson went off to Old Dominion, but we got Julian still there, right?
Yep, he's still there. He's going to compete. We got him from Pitt this last year. Really, the entire season, every time that he was on the field, it was like a designed quarterback run. He was never really given a true opportunity to be a quarterback and to make the throws or to have a shot at it. So he's going to be able to compete against Owen Eshelman and then also Caden Pinnock. There's also Jake Tiriagu, who is still on the roster. Owen Eshelman is definitely an interesting one, 6'3", 6'4", 194 out of Oklahoma. Jimmy's staff brought him from Oklahoma this last year. It was funny because Mateer went to Oklahoma. Owen Eshelman came from Oklahoma.
So he had been recruited by Oklahoma initially out of high school?
I don't know about that, but Jimmy Rogers brought him out of
Oklahoma.
Off
that roster. Okay.
Out of high school. So it'll be really between Owen, Julian Duggar, Caden Pinnock. Caden Pinnock, as we know, was a FCS freshman All-American, 6 foot 190. He started the entire year. Big Sky freshman freshman of the year out of the Big Sky.
We had Jamie Vinnick on our last podcast, and he had been talking about, how Vinnick works. He had a list of all these potential targets and everything, and he actually didn't have that kid on his list because he thought it was a player that WSU couldn't get even. What was your impression when they landed him?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that makes you think of, okay, where is this money coming from? Because the talent that they are able to because the money that they're actually able to get, it's like they're obviously spending more dollars than they were in the past. And, part of it is coming from the Rogers $4 million buyout, I imagine. I'm curious how much of that is
doesn't hurt.
paid up.
Doesn't hurt.
We got $4 million burning a hole in our pocket. Yeah.
But it is fun to see how excited everybody is with this too, because this is going to sell tickets. Like
it better.
It will.
It better.
It absolutely will.
Going into the and again, we're not going to hold you accountable to this because there's a million things that can change right now. But if you were handicapping the quarterback position, who do you think is the favorite to win the starting job?
I mean, I think Caden Pinnock is the easy answer because he has the most experience out of all of them. Julian Duggar, I believe, played in just the bowl game for Pitt. Owen Eshelman has no experience in college as of yet. Caden Pinnock had a full season. He went just shy of a 70% completion percentage, 3,200 passing yards, 32 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, carried the ball 125 times for 437 yards, 3 touchdowns. So he's legit. And he's going to be, a true sophomore coming into next year. I think he's the front runner for sure.
But the problem is your QB2 has little, if any, playing experience at all.
And we'll see if they're done adding quarterbacks. There's always the chance that they add another flyer.
Well, I know Caden passed
solid
up
run so far.
Caden passed up a lot of other schools to come to WSU. So you got to imagine that dangling that QB1 in front of him was part of the pitch and part of the close.
QB1's got to be a cool job at WSU.
QBU.
It's certainly lucrative these days, like, but it's one where you hope this is a kid who stays around for a long time, because I have no doubt.
Man, you're gonna get me all tearied up now, because I had this private lunch with a quarterback named John Mateer when he was playing behind a kid named Cam Ward, and I literally was talking to him like, dude, if you just stick around, you could be QB1 here someday. And I go, you will be like the mayor of this town. Nobody gets love like a QB1 in Pullman. And that all worked out, but then it was the part about it, and then you hope they stay there for a while, and you're like, yeah, well, that didn't work.
Yeah, well, look at the bags that big, you got to take it sometimes.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but it was funny because John Mateer went from being able to go anywhere on campus. My favorite story is Brandon Bowman, our creative director here, ran into him at the lumber yard after we shot with him that summer before he became John Mateer, right?
Right.
And John didn't have anybody to eat with, so he just came over and hung out with Brandon. And like his brother thought it was the coolest thing. Brandon's brother thought it was the coolest thing in the world, but John literally just didn't have anybody else to eat with. Smash cut to like a month later, he's the most popular guy on the West Coast. So
what's the other position groups you got dialed in for us, Connor?
Yeah, so running back, I can go through those guys if you like.
Yeah, now that is a position that benefited quite nicely from retention, wasn't it?
Yeah,
better
absolutely.
than anybody thought.
Yeah, so run us through that position.
Yeah, Kirby Voorhees, lead running back this past year, 576 yards, led on the team, 138 carries, average of 4.2. I mean, Dylan and I go back and forth. His favorite guy is Leo. My favorite guy is Kirby. I mean, this guy it looks like he can run through a brick wall, and he's also able to catch the ball out of the backfield. He didn't even, play in the bowl game, so it was like, okay, this guy's gone. The fact that they were able to retain him is massive.
Was that an injury? Would any speculation on as to why he didn't play in the bowl game?
My speculation is that he just wanted to stay healthy for potentially, free agency, you can call it. I don't know.
He was
if he
basically
had any injury,
not ready to shop himself around.
That's what I figure. That's what I would assume.
Okay.
Then you also got Maxwell Woods, who's going to be, I believe, a sophomore. We saw him in the bowl game because Kirby wasn't starting. 117 rushing yards on 9 carries, average of 13. He's a very dynamic guy. He's got the agility and the speed, so he's going to be a solid 2. And then I feel like Leo is probably the 3. I think he's going to be a senior. You also have Bo Phillips, who is a walk-on transfer from Central Washington.
That's right. That's a
local kid.
Yeah,
local kid.
Hurley was bragging on that kid off record.
I've been trying to. Yeah, that kid. Well, look, he's. We've got a very deep running back room, as you're alluding to. I would just like to say it's fun to see a Mount Si kid put on that Coug gear.
Seems like he can help him.
Those deep running backs can be good on special teams, though.
What's that?
Those can be good on a hands team or some kind of bomber on special team.
He took pretty good 2 to the house this year at Central. That's when I started getting excited about him. He took 2 back-to-back to the house at Central this year. So, maybe we've got some depth in special teams as well. But
yeah, that's what I was saying is that he might help on the return game for sure. Then outside of that, I mean, there's a lot of inexperience. There's some various freshmen that are returning. So really those 3 guys, you add in Bo as the 4. Lance McGee, as we saw, recently committed to Washington State. He's a 3-star out of Sumner. He's a linebacker and running back duo, so he could help on both sides.
Where do you think he slots in as a college player? Because that was a big get. That was a big get getting him too. I mean,
and do we think he's going to be playing this year?
Yeah, that's the other thing. What do you?
Yeah, I don't know. They've added so much depth and a lot of age via the portal that I feel like he might just have a year to where he can learn the ropes and grow in size. I think we'll just have to wait and see.
It's a great problem to have.
That's a really good problem.
Well, back to what you were saying at the top of the show of just developing these kids. They show up on campus and they're skinny and they're tiny. And I remember I was roommates with Matt Mullinex. Remember Matt Mullinex? He was like a stick when he got on campus. By the time he graduated, good Lord.
Yeah.
Everything was totally legal in that locker room.
Good diet, man. What other position groups you got on it, Connor?
Yeah, so I also have linebackers and then cornerbacks.
Well,
and then
let's
also
talk about the
kicker.
linebacker position, because at least the impression to the outside world, and I think it's probably accurate, but you can correct the record here, is that we had a lot more loss and attrition from defense than we did on offense, and there was more rebuild needed on the defensive side of the ball. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely, as expected, because Jimmy Rogers and staff are defensive minded, defensive first, so they were able to bring a lot of the guys that they wanted from the roster over to Iowa State. Also, we lost some very key players, Tucker Large, obviously safety, Caleb Franzel, Parker McKenna at the linebacker spot. We lost Polano to Boston College. So, and this past week, there has been a huge influx of defensive talent that has come in via the portal. Linebacker, cornerbacks, the entire defensive line, which Dylan will get into. It sounds like he's going to be on soon. Isaiah Hung re-signed. He's going to be a sophomore. That's a name to watch. But first off, Keith Brown was the first signing announced, and I feel like he was a guy that really helped the retention start. And
Keith Brown was like a rush chairman, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I think Jack was like a rush chairman, because did you have him on? Didn't he say that Jack called him every day for like a month or something?
Yeah, Keith entered the portal, and then I think Dylan said that like an hour or two later he left the portal. And yeah, so Jack was calling Keith every day, basically saying, "Hey, finish something that you started." This would have been Keith's third school that he had been to. If he had left again.
I can hear that conversation.
I can too.
Right now.
I can
totally hear that. And Jack can be very convincing.
Well,
he's very sincere when he wants to be.
He's very sincere. But then there's also a time where you realize how large of a man he is, even if he's on the other side of a phone. Like, I don't want to piss him off. But
but here's the other thing about Jack, because we were talking off the record. Jack and I go back to when I was like 6 years old, but there's a life journey that Jack went on as experience as a coach. You can remember his journey involved 4 coaches in 4 years, and yet he stuck around for all of it, right? And I think that when you can get advice from someone who's been through what Jack's been through as a football player, both on the collegiate level and at the NFL level, you should probably just shut your mouth and listen to him for a little bit. I think it's going to be good advice.
And it sounds like Dylan's backstage.
Oh, great. Oh, here he is. All right, let's get Dylan on here.
Well, were you running out of? Connor was running out of material, weren't you? You were literally. Connor was literally down to the end of his notepad, and he was like, "Oh, dude, God, if they ask me another question, I'm screwed here."
Dylan, what's happening, man? Welcome.
How we doing, boys? Can you hear me all good?
Thanks for joining us. Welcome to Collectively Crimson. You were coaching, weren't you?
Yeah, I coach high school baseball down here in San Diego.
How's the weather in San Diego right now?
Coach high school baseball, apparently.
We're playing baseball in December and January. It's been beautiful down here the last 6 weeks. Honestly, we've been saying it's too warm.
Oh, that sucks, Dylan. Sorry to hear that, man.
Right.
I really feel bad for you there.
Right before
we're really hoping SDSU's a road game this upcoming year.
We could use it, yeah.
Well, listen, you showed up just in the nick of time because your colleague Connor was just about at the end of his material, and we were going to have to start asking him questions like, to the best of your knowledge, what's the fastest land mammal and things like that. We want to talk to you about some position groups that you kind of have been dialed in on. Let's talk about what position groups kind of you got lined up to talk to us about tonight.
Yeah, I mean, let's just start off with wide receiver.
A position that we're always very interested in at WSU. Why don't you tell us about that position group and tell us about some of the additions? Talk to us about some of the retentions as well.
Yeah, so let's start off with Tony Freeman. I think a lot of us saw what he can do on the field, whether he was number 0, number 39, it didn't matter. I mean, this is a dynamic kid, in the slot, can line up in the X, outside, can return the ball. Just really, like when Kirby took the job, back channels, I told Connor, I'm like, Tony Freeman is one of the first people I'm talking to. And obviously, hey, we always hear wide receivers are a dime a dozen, but you want to keep guys. You want to retain guys. Tony Freeman, around 54, 56 catches last season. Everybody remembers the big touchdown in Ole Miss. He's just a game changer, and it's good to see that we're retaining these guys. And then you pair him up with a guy. What a name. He's 5'9", but his name is Tank Hawkins. I mean, when you're bringing in a kid from Florida, I'm sure you guys have seen Greg Woods' posts on his 100 meters He's running a
Yeah.
4.25 40.
He can scoot.
I mean,
He can scoot.
good luck. It's going to be, I'm sure Kirby Moore and the offensive coordinator are going to have a lot of fun dialing up some scheme work with Tony Freeman and Tank Hawkins running down the field. And that's something that Brad told us today is like, that's the one thing that is going to make a defensive coordinator not sleep at night, right? Is seeing that he's got a game plan for Tank Hawkins and Tony Freeman next week. And, that's what basically Brad said. We're really excited to drop. No, sorry about the plugs, but we're going to be dropping the Brad, GM.
Plug away, man.
Plug away. We had him on here. That guy's a rock star. We loved it. Yeah.
I think you guys
taking a look at
collective memberships than we do. So yeah, go for it, guys. Plug away.
Plug away.
Yeah, it's good for the goose, good for the rover. Yeah.
Taking a look at Darius Clements too, a guy that was injured this past year at Oregon State, started his career at Michigan State. You see some of the offers out of high school, Alabama, Oregon, Michigan. Get him healthy. He's a guy that's 6'2", 6'3", a bigger receiver on the outside. Then obviously you bring in Daniel Blood. We were wondering, does he like his brother? Apparently he likes him enough. He's here at Washington State. And, basically the blurbs that I read from Daniel Blood, I know like only 15 career catches, but this is a guy that they really like in terms of blocking on the outside as well. It's not all just pass catching, in the wide receiver room. So you're going to bring in a guy that knows the system, that's going to be able to help out, that receiver room this year with the new head coach, new offensive coordinator. So, Ganush Amorthy, I believe he's coming back. Noah Westbrook, Brad said was still in the room. So, obviously they bring in Connor, help me out with the name, the JC kid that came in the other day. I think he had the most touchdowns in junior college amongst all receivers this past year. That's a big time.
It's hard to keep up with all the tweets.
Ryan
right now.
McKendry, 6'1", 6'1", and you watch him. He's in the return game also. He had a return touchdown, at least one.
And so is Tank Hawkins.
27.8 yards per catch.
I thought the one thing that we were lacking a little bit on offense last year was that receiver that could just blow it over the top and really stretch the field out. I mean, we had a couple of good possession receivers. I also thought one of our number ones would have been a number 3 in a Leach offense kind of thing. But having those guys that can really blow it open over the top and stretch it out is big.
I think we did have a couple of those guys. We just didn't have a quarterback.
We just didn't have a play. We didn't have a play in the playbook for that.
No,
until the bowl game.
I don't think we had the scheme to do that, and I don't think
you may be right.
Respect to Zevi, but I don't think we had the quarterback that could go over the top. And
there may be some truth to that. Maybe the truth. What other position? Anything else on the wide receivers that sounds like now it sounds pretty healthy as long as everyone stays healthy.
Yeah, it sounds pretty healthy. Maybe you bring in another guy, a veteran guy, but for the most part, I think they're pretty set at wideout, bringing in Blood and Clemens, Freeman, and and Tank Hawkins. I mean, I'm guessing those are probably your top 4 receivers right now.
O-line.
Yeah, I mean that was the initial phase of retention, right? I mean, like Kirby Moore and staff went in and said, "Hey, look, we're gonna keep the behemoths in Pullman," and that's something that we've seen over the years. The Christian Hilborns, the Brock Does, the Cole Madisons, like the big beefies. They want to stay in Pullman. There's got to be something in the water. But
how are we doing on depth at that position, though? I mean, I
know
we
got a problem this year too.
Yeah, that was a problem, and unfortunately, those guys get banged up. So, how are we looking from a depth perspective at those positions?
I think they need to go out and find somebody to challenge Kyle Morton at the center position. You need to bring in somebody that's maybe played some snaps at the D1 level to come in and play center. We've been fortunate to have Brock Doe the last 2 years at the center position. I think that's something that they need to do. Again, it's tough to catch up with all these news dumps, but the Utah transfer, 6'7" offensive tackle that committed today, he's also a guy that is along the Pole lines. He quit basketball his junior year of high school and only played 1 year of football. Originally recruited as a 3-star by USC, then transferred to Utah, and now you bring him in. And I mean, that's a big boy, 6'7". You either put him at left tackle or right tackle. You have Ashton Tripp back, you have Nick Becken back, and that was an SDSU guy that came over from San Diego State and back in. Ashton Tripp, Noah Dunham. I think Noah Dunham is going to be your right guard next year. And then, can you bring back a guy like Arian Williams, a Turner Bertrand? There's still some TBDs on that offensive line, but to your point, they need to bring in a couple more guys, a couple more vets, because there's nothing better than competition at the offensive line. And if you have competition, well, then you're going to have some depth.
Yeah.
Well, you were talking too about, we started off with just, hey, we're doing better in this transfer portal, and money is a reason, right?
It helps.
It
significantly.
It helps. And I
Big
think
time.
how our O-line is looking at the end of this transfer portal will really be the grade of where we're at with our NIL budget, because those are some of the most expensive and competitive guys that we've got to go after. After your marquee quarterbacks, those are the guys that go for big
They do.
bucks.
Offensive linemen are expensive.
I think that'll be telling us to where we're at, is the depth that we have on the O-line.
Defensively, position group. Were you doing covering linebackers or DBs?
D-line.
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 Okay.
So have you guys already gone over some position groups? I'm just catching up
We
here.
were
Linebacker.
stalling. Like I said, we literally got Connor to the end of his note card, and he was
I got a
beginning
little
to
more.
sweat it.
I got a
And
little
then
more.
you showed up just in the nick of time.
Did you guys
Connor got
talk
on
about
ChatGPT
Nathaniel
as soon
Salmon
as Dylan
yet?
got on to
Just
get some more
briefly,
info.
Dylan, you can recover them.
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the Chargers training camp, 6'7", 270-pound tight end that runs.
We'd
a
like to hear-
4.63.
yeah, why don't you
Why
tell
have we
everyone
not
that
thought
story?
about going pro before?
Why-
This is great.
No, but seriously, tell us the story here, and then tell us what you're hearing, what you're seeing, and what you're thinking on this.
And I keep saying Brad. Can somebody help me out with his last
Brad.
name enunciation?
Lorondo?
There we go. So, what Brad said, and I loved hearing this about Nathaniel Salmon. I mean, this is a kid that just hasn't played a lot of football, right? He played professional basketball in Australia. And, it's almost the Antonio Gates route, right? Like Antonio Gates didn't play a single snap of college football, ends up being, a Hall of Fame tight end. I'm not saying that's the pathway here, but what Brad said was what I really like. It's like, hey, we're looking at him at tight end, maybe offensive line, maybe the edge. And, I could see him moving the edge because really it's the easiest position to learn on the football field, right? You're either just setting the edge, you're rushing the passer. I mean, it's pretty simple stuff. So I like that aspect. This is what we need to be doing as a school. We need to be taking some hacks at the plate. Whether they're prospects, whether they don't turn out, that's fine. We need to take some hacks at the plate in terms of bringing in some people that just have some God-given abilities, athleticism wise. And this is a guy that has that. So, obviously he's going to be, he's going to need to catch up, right? Get into spring ball, see what you got. I don't know if this is a guy that's going to see the field year one, but at 21 years old, he's got 4 years of eligibility. So, I guess we know who's buying the Cougar Crimson.
Well, but if we do need to get you bring up a point that defensive end position does give them probably the best opportunity of getting on the field.
It does. I mean, who knows? I'm guessing, they'll see what they have at tight end first. And, I trust this coaching staff. I mean, if the GM's already saying, hey, we've got, 3 possible, positions for him, this is obviously, a planned ahead, right?
Yeah.
Dylan, what? Yeah.
Okay. What else on the defensive side of the ball do we need to get over here? Where do we need to understand where we are with the DBs and all of that?
Yeah, I think in terms of defensive backs, I haven't really seen anything on 2 guys that are still in the transfer portal or in the transfer portal, haven't made a decision. Kai Rapola, the Cal Poly transfer from last year. And if you can bring him back, it just adds more depth to the room. But they've brought in a lot of guys. You have Bryce Hecker, the JC signee. They were able to keep him. You bring in Jay-Sean Frosto Ramos, who originally started his career at Stanford. Love that. Bring in a Stanford brain.
It helps with the team GPA. Always.
Exactly. So Jaleel Tucker as well. He's coming over from Oregon State. Was a Trent Bray guy last year. Started his career out at Oregon as a 4-star out of high school. Did a couple years at San Diego Mesa, and then found his way back up to the Division I level. So I think with cornerback is, from what I'm seeing with the staff is, bring in 6, 7, 8 guys and hopefully you hit on 2 or 3 of them. I think that's kind of the
Well, and
game
you make
plan
them
for 'em.
compete. You make them compete for the job.
I'll also
the
mention a
one-
couple other corners real quick. So
Yeah.
Jalen Thomas, who is a transfer out of San Jose State, he played all 12 games for them. 6 foot 185. He's going to be a sophomore. He was a 3-star. He was the number 117 cornerback. He also has some experience in the punt return. He had 59 tackles this past year, 6 pass breakups. So that could be a guy. Another couple names. Shout out CougFan.com for this information. But Elmo Wartson, who is 6'3", 185 out of Modesto Junior College. And then also Levi Manson, who's 6'4", 202 as a corner out of Grandview College. This is going to be his 5th college. So a couple big guys with those other 2 transfers, or a few transfers.
Special teams. We never talk about it, and we never talk about it during the season until, of course, it blows up in our face, and then we can't shut up about it. It's important.
The fact,
Where are we sitting with special teams?
I'll just
Well,
talk
the
about
punter-
Jack. Go for it.
Go ahead
Connor.
with Jack first.
I'll talk about Jack Stevens first. Out of South Dakota State, he's going to be a redshirt sophomore. He was incredible this last year. 842 field goal percentage, was 4th all time at Washington State. He was 16 for 19 with a long of 49 yards, 33 for 33 in PATs. His 8 for 8 start to his career matched the best start in Washington State history. So the fact that they were able to retain that kind of accuracy was solid.
That's pretty.
I was expecting him to go. I really was expecting him to go to Iowa State.
He was highly sought
Probably
after.
stay behind.
He was, wasn't he?
Yeah, programs that came in after him. Jamie Vinnick had a great article on CougFan about it. So I mean, hey, kicking is important, right? I mean, Connor
It
and
is.
I, we can remember 2016 sitting in the Crim Zone thinking we're going to take down Stanford, and Eric Powell, he figured it out the following year, but
Halloween.
that was a somber Halloween night, and the infamous no fumble from Christian McCaffrey as well. Not to bring up some demons
No,
here,
not that
but,
you're bitter. Not that you're bitter about it or anything like that. So we understand.
Max Dean, he's a transfer punter coming in, I believe, from New Mexico State. Had a pretty good average. I saw Ryan Harris transferred to, I think, Arizona earlier today. That was announced, and hey, all right, more power to you, Wildcats. We'll see you week 3. But I mean, the first 5 weeks, the special teams unit under Rodgers, I mean, it was horrible. The punt return, punt, anything. I mean, it was not good. So hopefully this staff can get this team out of the chute week 1 looking good on special teams, because I'll tell you what, guys, I mean, we opened the year with the Apple Cup, and you win that game, all of a sudden, week 2, you are in, one of the lead teams in the G5 race for a playoff spot. And the way our schedule
you have a
sets up,
non-conference schedule that if you could run that, because you got K-State and Arizona there too, so we're not playing one of those other tiered schools. If you could run that non-conference schedule, I think you got Duquesne later in the year or something like that, or somewhere on there also. But 3 of those 4 are legit opponents.
absolutely,
That could be really big.
We're also playing
Not
them earlier in the season though too, so that's going to be kind of nice because the depth will.
Yes.
The depth won't be as dynamic there. So I'm
I
pumped
think
with
you
the
can go
schedule.
2-1. Wherever you get it. If you go 2-1, you're guaranteeing yourself 1 road win, either in Seattle or in Manhattan. You go 2-1 in that, and then 7-1 conference record, end the season 10-2, win a conference championship. That could get you in. Obviously, you want to go undefeated in the non-conference, but I think if they can go 2-1 against that stable of teams, Arizona, Kansas State, and UW, you put yourself in a pretty good position in the G5 race.
You guys have been covering together. You guys have been covering as Couch GM Cougar football. How many years now? Just 2 years.
This the second
as far
year?
as publicly.
About a year and a half.
2.5.
About a year and a half.
Yeah.
But you've both been. How long you guys been Coug fans? Did you grow up in a Cougar family, or did you graduate into it?
My dad went to UW, believe it or not.
Oh,
and then myself and my
I'm sure
2
I'm sure
brothers.
he's a good man. I'm
You're
sure
right.
he's still a good man.
And then
He raised a
myself and
good
my
kid.
2 brothers all went to Washington State. So
Okay.
since about.
What about you,
2012,
Dylan?
So I was a transfer. I was down here at San Diego for a couple of years. Played at Grossmont baseball wise, and got up here and my first game was the Portland State loss in the rain.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well, hey, listen,
I was
being
going-
a Cougs got a lot of good moments, but it's got some moments like that in there too. So you might as well just get yourself used to it.
I remember calling my dad. I was like, man, I
Where
don't
did I
know.
go?
I don't know if I made the right move up here, but that was just day one. I mean, I don't take anything for granted. WSU was the best decision, I ever made. I was just looking for a switch. I was looking for, a good communications program. Shout out to Murrow College. Greg Witter, I owe him a lot. He gave me my first job.
Dude.
Gave me my first job out of school as a beat writer. And, I've been with Coug fans since. So, like I said, like when we take a look at this offseason, I'm sure you guys have talked about this, but this has been the best offseason that I've seen since 2016.
1,000%.
Mike
That's
Leach.
literally
Yeah,
what I was going to.
1,000%.
That's what I was leading into. And my final question, you guys, is both of you individually. How excited are you about this coming season? New conference, new coach, a lot of talent, got some depth. How excited are you? Tell me.
Yeah, super excited. Kirby Moore coming in with this influx of funding that we're seeing. Last year with Jimmy Rogers coming in, and once he left, we were saying a new coaching staff is going to come in. We're going to see transfers coming in, and then we're just going to be like, we're so back. That's kind of where we're at now. Just seeing the additions being added, the retention that we're seeing. Just really excited for, and we could be the top of the Pac-12 in the first year that it's coming back. So excited.
And to table off
this
of
conference. Go ahead.
To table
Go ahead,
off of
Dylan.
what Connor said, the excitement, it's palpable buzz right now. And what we have to see with Coach Moore, obviously he's a first year head coach. There's still, a lot of mystery. Oregon State, they won the offseason last year, right? They brought in Malik Murphy, Hankerson coming back. It's easy to win the offseason. But when I take a look at what we have at our disposal, who thought Maxwell Woods or Kirby Voorhees or Tony Freeman was going to come back? I mean, nobody did, right? The one thing I will say, we still don't know how this conference is going to work. Is everybody going to be playing an opponent 2 times? I really hope that doesn't happen. I really hope that the Pac-12 takes a look at like Fresno State, Boise State, Washington State. You get the top of your conference to find a 5th non-conference game. And then if you have to have the bottom of the conference, like 4 teams play against each other twice, do that. That's something that we're not thinking about yet. But, when we played Oregon State twice this year, we were kind of like the butt end of a joke, on social media and whatnot. I do not want that to happen this year. You find Boise State, us, Oregon State, and Fresno State, who I think is going to be a sleeper next year under Matt Entz, a 5th non-conference game.
You think they're a sleeper next year?
I do. They're having a really good offseason right now, portal-wise.
All right.
And if they can bring in a quarterback, they brought in a former 3-star dual threat guy from Maryland, they might have a chance as well. You go down to Fresno State, when they're going good, the Carr years, the Tedford years, they can pack 44,000.
Yeah, they've had some good teams down there.
Valley. Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's my
gentlemen. Thank you very much. And before we let you go, why don't you put in another plug for Couch GM? Because like I say, Cougs, if you're not checking these guys out, if you're not tuning into Couch GM, you are totally missing out. So guys, go ahead and plug where you are and all your platforms and all that.
Yeah, it's the Couch GM on YouTube, but we're known as the Cougs on the Couch podcast on there for all things WSU. And then Dylan, what's your socials?
Yeah, just my first name, last name. I'll tell you what, we had over 100,000 people tune into our shows collectively this past year.
Wow.
Coug businesses,
Fantastic.
whoever, you guys want to get your plugs in, your name out, hit us up. We're looking for
That's
folks
right.
to jump in.
Well, listen, you guys have been good to us over there, and we want to thank you for that.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
just want to say a genuine thank you. You guys, when you pump the 1890 Club, we see the numbers go up on our end, and it's that kind of stuff that makes this thing so much fun. Is when guys like you with a microphone and an audience can start saying, "Hey, join the 1890 Club," and they actually do.
It's the mighty by many.
Cool. So thank you guys. But
Yeah.
when we talk about a good off season, you guys are a big part of that. So thank you.
Well, thank you guys so much for having us on tonight. We really
Thanks for
appreciate
being
it.
here. Go Cougs.
thank
All right, go
Go
Cougs,
Cougs.
guys.
See you guys.
All right, good dudes.
Good dudes. they did their homework too. I hope they were both as good with their homework in college as they were here, because they are.
No,
quite
they weren't.
studious.
I can tell you they weren't. They were probably just too busy.
What kind of student were you?
That's a silly question.
Well, no, it's not.
I was a communications major.
Well, I mean, I didn't say you had a demanding major.
Yeah,
I get
no,
that.
I had a lot of fun. My wife was a dietitian. She spent a lot of
Did you
time.
know
in the
your wife
library.
in college?
Oh yeah,
That's where you guys met.
She came over. She was visiting for Alive when
Oh,
I
no
swooped
kidding.
in
Oh,
there.
there you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then she just didn't realize. At that point, you've got a little bit of a cool factor because you're older.
Yeah.
And before she could figure out that I sucked, she was
You already had the ring on the
locked it
finger.
down.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah.
Well, I was a poli-sci major, and it was not the most demanding of majors either. And I had really good grades, but I didn't work that hard at it.
I had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I had a lot of fun in
Yeah.
college.
You know what we used to say, man? If you ain't wasted, the day is. That's what we used to say, Brian.
You know, we're gonna cut to some ads real quick, and then we're gonna talk to somebody.
And we're gonna class it up.
We're gonna class it up with somebody
Yeah, we are.
who made a lot more of their time at WSU than either of us did.
That's true.
We're gonna hear from a sponsor or a product here. Let's see what we got.
As a mind strength coach, people ask me all the time, how do you get motivated? How do you push through a tough morning? What's your morning routine? And it's simple. 2 words. Old Crimson Legendary Brew, powered by Thomas Hammer.
That's 9 words.
If you let it be. Then I get this one. Coach, what if I'm still not motivated? Simple. Drink more coffee.
All right, we're back. Now let's talk about what we needed on the collective board.
We needed some intellect.
We needed some intellect,
We did. We needed some common sense,
some comments. We needed some class.
and we definitely needed some class.
Yeah, because Matt Mira was not pulling it down for us, was he?
No, we got some classy guys on the board, and then some guys on the board.
Well, we're so excited to have Morgan Weaver not
Yeah,
only
we
on
are.
the board but here with us on Collectively Crimson. Morgan, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So before we dive into the nuts and bolts of soccer at WSU, I want to ask your perspective. You've had a couple board meetings under your belt. First impressions, go.
First impressions.
Yeah.
I've had a great time. It's really fun. I did have to mute the text messages a few times. There was just so many, and I was trying to train, and my watch just kept buzzing.
I might have been
so-
responsible for some of those.
We're usually talking smack behind Wade's back when we're doing that, because he's not engaged in the texting as much. So that's just the way to do that, Morgan.
I know. It's so funny because I'll text Wade privately, and he just cracks me up.
Well, we sure do appreciate having you. And in your short time being on the board, you have contributed significantly with some fantastic ideas. But why don't we talk? We spent a lot of time talking about football here at Collectively Crimson, but we are going through a big transition with a program that has had tremendous amount of success at Washington State University, women's soccer. So why don't you get the viewers kind of filled in on what's been happening with women's soccer with the coaching change and where you see the future of this program going right now?
Yeah, I think, it's kind of a weird thing that I did not expect to happen. Obviously, Todd got a new job at Ole Miss, excited for him to see what he does, but I'm super excited for the new coach, Chris, to come in and just give his fresh outlook on what he wants and expects from all the players. Players come and go, but I think the girls that are staying and coming in are going to enjoy their time in Pullman and representing Cougs. I'm really excited for it. I think it's something new and exciting. I think this whole thing for every Wazoo sport is so new and exciting right now with the new conference, new coaches coming in. I think there's so much life that's about to come into Wazoo.
This new conference, who has a reputation of the new schools joining us? Who has a reputation of traditionally being pretty good at this sport?
Honestly, I don't really know.
Okay, well that
Um,
tells me that that none of the schools that are now entering the conference have a tradition of making it deep into the national tournament year in and year out. Because don't you think you would probably recognize those schools?
Yeah, I don't remember really playing any of these schools when I was in school, but
that's
also that was a while
bulletin board
ago.
material, isn't it? We're gonna tweet that out all these new schools, and they're gonna have that tweet. And so, well, WSU
Morgan Weaver.
Morgan Weaver
does
doesn't
not, never
remember
heard
an
of
interview.
you. Never heard of you.
It's like when I went to my high school reunion and none of the popular kids remembered me at all. That's how they're gonna feel when they hear that. How dare you, Morgan?
Sorry.
Morgan, let me ask you this. How has NIL affected women's soccer and some of the other what we call non-revenue generating sports, but they're equally as important to everything that we do here at Washington State University? What's been the impact of NIL, and what could the impact of NIL be on this sport moving forward?
Yeah, NIL is definitely still very new to me. I'm still trying to catch up because I didn't really understand it. Now, thankfully, being a part of the board, it's a little bit better. I think for
Half the board
soccer-
doesn't understand it.
Yeah, half the board, and the other half acts like they do. So it's
Okay.
fine. Don't worry.
Well,
As long as we
I
got a
also-
couple that do, we'll stay out of trouble.
all the other sports I'm so confused on. It's a lot. It's so new,
Right.
and I think there's so many things that need to be figured out still, obviously. It's very exciting though. I wish it was when I was playing a sport. That would be awesome in college to be able
Yeah.
to make money. But I think it's really exciting, and I think being a sport that doesn't get a lot of revenue in general, I would say, because I mean, usually soccer games, I don't know if they are still like this, but when I was playing, it was free to get into. No one had to pay to get into any games. I think now
They're charging an admission, or you have to have the sports pass to get in. So
Okay.
yeah.
So it used to not be like that. So everything is just so different. But I think something that's exciting is you're going to really see a lot of players that are wanted. And you're like, hey, stay here. We can help you with this. We can help you with that. And that's never been a really thing. It's like, this is your scholarship. This is all you really get. Sorry, we can't really do anything. So I think there's going to be some really exciting times, really challenging times as well, because it's so new into non-revenue sports, I would say.
Right. Okay. So here's what a lot of people don't know. And you can speak to this a little bit too, because everyone thinks like, oh, if I give money to the Cougar Collective, it's just all going to the football program. But we allow donors to earmark funds specifically for a particular program, including women's soccer, correct?
Correct.
I think it's super cool. I mean, I think there's a lot of programs that need to adapt this rule is if, hey, I want to give this much money, but I only want it to go to this sport. I don't know why that would be a problem.
Well, and this is something that's going to affect every sport. So the same things that we see in football and basketball, marquee players are going to get recruited.
Yes.
And
if you have a good player at WSU, they're going to get poached away by another school unless you can.
Unless we get more 1890 club members.
Well,
so, you know.
Well, and this is what I want everyone to understand, because maybe women's soccer, women's volleyball, or women's basketball is your passion sport. And you want to give money, but you want to support that. Well, that's the beauty of the Cougar Collective, is if you want to earmark your donations for a specific program, we do not care what program you earmark it for. If you earmark it for that program, that is where that money is going.
I also think it's very exciting because there's not like, if you want to go women's sports and only women's sports, there's an option to do it. Yeah, obviously football and basketball are our money-making sports at this school. And I wouldn't have my scholarship without those guys playing these sports. And I know that. But now being able to be a women's sport, like in women's sports, and being able to make something, it's very exciting because it's so new.
And because it's so new, I think that you and I could agree also that a little bit of money could go a long way in some of these non-revenue sports, for the mere fact that the university, that program, has some money to spend, because some of these non-revenue programs have, like you say, well, we got your scholarship and that's what you get.
Yeah, I mean, we'll give you free books. Like, you never know. And I think, obviously, I was always thankful for what I got in my scholarship and everything that I was able to do with in soccer. But I think it's going in the right direction. It's super exciting to see. And I think the Coug Collective, I mean, it's something that's so special. And all of us just want these athletes, not just women's sports, but every single athlete at Wazoo to achieve the goals that they can and to be able to get some money. Why not?
Well, and I think that's the big thing too. We talk about it all the time, which is just when we talk about these NIL deals, the ones that hit the headlines are the massive paydays, right? But the long tail and the majority of these NIL deals are walking around money.
Yeah, a little extra grocery money.
Getting able to fly home one more time a year.
Or
kind
getting
of
mom
money.
and dad to fly out for a weekend and just see them play and get some home cooking for mom. And
yeah, not having to have a job while you're training at the same time, I think is a big darn deal. Changing the subject real quick, Morgan. You mentioned the coaching change. Now the school reached out to you to kind of get your insights into the coaching search, right? Can you tell us anything about behind the scenes, what went on there?
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny because John Harlow called me, let me know about, Todd leaving. We had a great conversation. He kind of just told me he wanted me to be a part of looking for the new coach. They had some people in mind. And I was like, okay. They told me the people. I texted a bunch of people I knew. I was like, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? And all the people that they had were such good candidates. Did not find one bad thing about any of them. And so I'm really excited for Chris to be here too, because he works with the girls that I coach academy. So I'm a part of the Portland Thorns Academy. A lot of our players want to go to college. And so it's very exciting because I'm so excited to send hopefully some of my players one day to Wazoo.
So you hear that, Portland-based businesses? You can keep supporting these women as they go off to college.
Pipeline of soccer players to WSU.
Cougar Collective, you've got a Portland player right there. I also shout out to John Harlow. I love that he's talking to
how flattered were you, Morgan, that you get a call from the AD and like, hey, I want your input on who our next coach? I mean, you had to be pretty flattered by that.
Well, I think it's kind of funny because when we were at the Portland, there was a Portland little thing we had for the Wazoo Alumni Association, and John was there. And that's the first time I met him. And I kind of gave him a hard time. And I was like, you need to do a better job at talking to athletes that are no longer at Wazoo, that have graduated, are gone, because we have so many awesome ideas. And ever since I've said that, like, I get a text from John every other week, which is fine. I love it.
No, think about it. He took the input. He took the input. I love it. He implemented a change in game plan. That's pretty awesome.
Because I'll tell you, these ADs, and we've seen a lot of them go through, they get a lot of words that go in one ear and out the other.
I worked with one AD that knew the answer to everything.
But yeah, I think
anyways,
I think he's doing a great job, and he's taken a lot of advice from not just me, but from so many people. And I think he's trying to get everyone connected. And I think something we just talked about the other day, him and I, is that this new conference, it's so exciting. One, because we get to prove what Wazoo's about. And this is where we get to be first or second place. Like, once we get there, then we can go bigger. But we need to win our conference before we can go anywhere else. If we want to bring in this NIL money, okay, fine. Let's beat our conference out with NIL money then. Let's not look at the bigger picture of trying to compete with the Alabamas, the Oregons. Not yet. Once we get our first place or second place in our conference, then let's look at the big picture. And I think that's what we kind of have to reel into reality, is we need to win our conference first.
But you know what I like about what we're getting out of Harlow and what we've been getting out of the staff over there is that a lot of times we're like, well, we're going to do the best we can with the understanding that we're Washington State University.
Gosh, darn, yeah.
And we're not getting that from Harlow. We're not getting that from this football staff. I bet you're probably not going to get it from the new soccer coach either, which is like, well, why wouldn't we win this conference? We're Washington State University. That's what we're here to do.
Exactly.
There's the why not us mentality right now, and I'm loving it. Well, it might have gotten a little harder for these women, Morgan, because you did start this interview off with, I've never heard of any of these teams before. So, you might have been setting these women up for some trouble, but whatever.
That's not what I meant. I've heard of the schools. I've just never played them.
Listen, Morgan, before we let you go, this is what I want you to do. I want you to put a plug in for all those people out there, except for Matt Mira, who I already know is passionate about the soccer team over there. Matt, thanks for all your support of soccer. But we want you to put a plug in and get those that want to support the program to join the 1890 Club, earmark their dollars for women's soccer. So let's hear Morgan Weaver's pitch.
Ooh, my pitch.
Yeah.
Well, we've made the Final Four once. Why not do it again? But we're going to need your help. But instead of making it to the Final Four, let's make it to the finals and win it.
I love that.
There we go.
And you know what? When you get that 1890 Club membership and you want to give Morgan some credit, you can say, I'm here because of Morgan Weaver, and I want my money to go to women's soccer.
There
And
you go.
It
It's just
will.
that easy.
It's a comment section right at the checkout there. Morgan, thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for tolerating the collective board. We're just so thrilled to have you.
We are thrilled to have you.
Of course. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
The most decorated soccer player in the history of Washington
And
State
the
University.
most articulate Cougar collective board member. I'll take it.
But you know, she brings up, Brian, she brings up this good point, because I think that, yeah, we're excited about a lot of things, but I don't think people have, they're excited about what's going on with the Forest, but we got to take that 35,000 foot view. We're about to be in a new conference with some new rivals, and a lot of them don't really know what they've gotten themselves into yet. You know?
And both she's mentioned it. You heard the football coaches mention it. Betsy, that's been kind of the bell.
President Cantwell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Should I call her President Cantwell? Am I too familiar saying Betsy?
President Cantwell.
President Cantwell. Sorry. She just seems so personable.
She is.
Yeah.
President Cantwell.
President
Thank you for tuning in
Cantwell
tonight.
has been very gung-ho about
been
we need to
fantastic.
own this Pac-12. And you see, when you talk about that why not us mentality, it comes from her.
Yeah.
It comes from her. The people she's hiring and the people who are already there, they've all been infected with this
There
spirit.
is no reason why we cannot dominate this conference.
Period.
End of story.
Yeah.
Full stop. Bring the two Bay Area schools back too. And other than, golf and tennis, where Stanford will smoke us in, we'll dominate them and everything else.
Well, the only thing more motivational than Morgan Weaver and you following it up is our good
Message
friend,
from the good general.
the good general.
Let's do it.
Let's hear from him.
Hear me now, faithful of the crimson and gray. The great rattle of the portal is beginning to quiet at last. The roads that once swarmed with wandering mercenaries will grow still. And I report to you with a steady hand and a proud heart. Washington State has waged this season of movement with more success than ever before. We have not merely survived the chaos of the age, we have bent it to our will. Key men have been retained. New blood has been secured. The banner still flies. Now comes the truest work of any campaign worth remembering. Winter settles over Pullman, cold and unforgiving, and it is here, away from the noise and the applause, that men are forged. These coming months will not be glamorous. They will be heavy with iron, breath, discipline, and repetition. The men will train while others rest. They will sharpen themselves while others boast. This is how seasons are won before the first whistle ever sounds. But hear this clearly. An army does not endure on grit alone. Resolve must be matched by support. In this modern war, belief is shown not only in voice and presence, but in continued commitment to the men who carry our colors. If we are to sustain this momentum, if we are to keep the banner flying high, then the faithful must remain engaged, invested, and united. The work does not pause when the games end, neither can our support. The days will grow longer again, and when the call to battle returns, it will not be answered by words spoken in the fall, but by labor done now, in the cold and in the quiet, with the full backing of Cougar Nation behind these men. The portal closes, winter opens, stand with the men, for armies do not endure on strategy alone, they endure on the unwavering resolve of their people. Signed, General Kirby Moore.
You know what? Well done.
Well, I want you to, I took some criticism, some critique on last week's episode. So if you notice, there is no longer telephone poles or telephone wires in this battle scene.
But let's just clear this up. You're not outing yourself as the general.
I am not the general.
You are not the general.
No, I will
You are
swear
editing the general.
I do not even know who General Kirby Moore is. I have communicated with him via X. I literally call him. I will show you after we're done with it. I will show you my X exchange with him.
Well, there was a little bit of a scare in General Kirby Moore world this week. Did you see the tweets?
No, I'm unnoticed.
Homeboy forgot to log out of old burner and into new burner.
No.
And so there was a tweet where you're like, this doesn't sound like the general. This sounds like a different person, but nobody could identify who it was.
Right.
So like General Moore, we got close to finding out who you were this week. I don't think anybody figured it out.
Know.
But there was some like Seahawks related tweets that were not in The Voice. So the burner switch was an issue, but I think he covered his tracks pretty well.
Well, I just want to thank the general because anytime I've ever reached out to him and asked him to contribute, it's literally within about 12 hours we have a statement written up. So, General,
God, I love
thank you
Cougs.
very much. Listen, real quick, Pullman Vintage Market, check it out. All kinds of cool retro gear. Your 80s starter jackets, all kinds of, they got a lot of cool stuff. And remember, part of the proceeds from every sale over at Pullman Vintage Market goes directly to the Cougar Collective. Also, make sure that you're starting your day with Old Crimson coffee, winding down the evening with some Old Crimson lager.
Or Old Crimson
cocktail.
Yeah,
exactly.
And if you bought the wine in time.
If you bought the wine in time, you can have that as well. This
There
was
you go.
fun.
This was
Good
a lot
guests.
of fun. Yeah, really good guests. We've got some really fun guests coming up too.
Yeah, and if you guys got an idea for a guest, like say, hey, we'd like to hear from so-and-so, put something down in the comment section because Brian and I clearly don't come up with enough good ideas around here. So we will take any suggestions that you may have.
While we were on break, we were saying that we want to reach out to President Cantwell.
President Cantwell.
Oh,
That's right.
who screwed the name up that time?
Yeah, well, I didn't start throwing out first names.
But I have to promise, Bill made me promise that I will refer to her as
President Cantwell
President
or Dr. Cantwell.
Dr. Cantwell, Your Honor.
Now, here's the thing. This is the way my dad raised me. Okay.
Yes.
Unless you go, well, President Cantwell, call me Betsy. If she did that, if she gives you the permission, especially on air, then you can go ahead and do it.
I don't think she's going to give me the permission.
That's right.
Yeah, this is
It will
like a
be
new
President
stead
Cantwell.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, great show tonight. Thank you so much. And thanks to our guests. And
go Cougs.
Go Cougs.